Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. It's me, Jordan Shannon, and as always, I'm joined by Kieran Powell. How are you, Kai?
Not too bad, Jordan. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Thank you very much. I'm not too far from you today, actually, but change of scenery.
Yeah. How's that going?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Traveling with a newborn is challenging, but it is what it is. You've got to get going. But bit of a disappointing, obviously, result in India, and we've got Roston's comments from the media team. So obviously, I'll let them play now.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Obviously, the captain is here, Roston Chase, to speak to you guys following this game. As usual, raise your hands alternately and you will get your chance to ask a question. Standard procedure of 10 minutes for your questions. So we should finish by 2:15. So, first question.
One match you were talking about forgetting the past, playing realism, and trying to do something out of it. See that. How do you sum up the calculation in both innings of this test match?
Yeah, obviously we had a poor batting display. There's been something that's been plaguing us for the past two series. We've not been able to at least bat 80 overs, bat a day, or even get at least 250 or 300 runs on the board. So anytime you win the toss in a test match and bat, and you don't bat out the first day, you're always going to be behind the eight ball.
Hi, I guess your bowling coach said that there was something much with the bowlers yesterday, today. Obviously, your batters, scrambled once again. Was it that, do you think that you lost the match at the toss itself, it was a wrong decision, or do you think that, just that things didn't change? What was the whole?
No, I don't think the decision was a bad decision. We saw the wicket. Although they had a bit of moisture, we still thought that it was a good wicket to bat first on. We thought that once we batted well and the openers went out there and just soft that moisture, that it would have been a good wicket to bat on, as we did see coming on later into the first day. But we didn't start well, and we never really put any partnerships in place. We never really got back into the game. We never put those partnerships together, and we paid for it.
Roston, what have the learnings been for you in terms of dealing with spirit in both innings?
Yeah, I just think it's a case where our defense needs to be a bit tighter. I find we gifted some of the wickets too easily. I mean, there was a bit of rough and some balls were spinning out the rough and stuff, but it wasn't nothing that, there wasn't any devils in the wicket. I still thought that it was a wicket that you could stand up and bat on, as shown by the Indian batters, but we just need to, I think we need to trust in our defense a bit more, because I can't say that we weren't scoring because the run rate was still good, but I just think that we need to be a little more solid in our defense.
Back home in the West Indies, there was like a big press conference, West Indies, where they spoke on a lot of topics. One topic that they did touch on was, finances. I just want to understand from you, is it just, the case of ICC funding, equally distributing money, and would West Indies figure, would the years come back, or is it about something more fundamental than just, equal distribution of finances?
Yeah, well, I don't really want to touch too much on that, but what I would say, yes, there is obviously a struggle in the Caribbean for finances. So if whatever help we can get, if they're planning to get the help, I hope that we do get it, so that we could, strengthen the infrastructure for the cricket. I think the systems in the Caribbean are a bit poor in terms of training facilities and stuff, but I'm not using that as an excuse or something to hide behind for the poor performances that we've been putting out lately. I still think the onus is on the players to find some way to churn out runs and wickets and stuff. So I don't really want to get too much into that.
Roston, is the resurrection of West Indies cricket possible?
If I said no, I wouldn't be a true West Indian. Obviously, we're down right now, but there have been times where we've been up and other teams have been down and they've risen. So I would never say that a resurrection is not possible for us, but we're going to have to take some small steps and try to find our way back up the ladder.
Karthik?
Roston, you spoke about the infrastructure and the sort of gaps there are. Sometimes when you look at West Indies first class averages, the batters tend to average in the 20s and 30s. Some of the bowlers tend to have like averages 18, 15 and stuff over a season. Do you think it kind of starts from there of having like more truer first class pitches, and would that
Yeah, that is some of the infrastructural problems that we do have. The pitches in the Caribbean are not really batsman friendly, so guys don't really bat for long periods and score those big scores. So, and then two with the outfields in the Caribbean are really slow. So when you hit the ball in the gaps and you think you have four, probably end up struggling to get two. So those are just some of the problems that we are faced with in the Caribbean. So yeah, that's what you see guys averaging so low. If you look at the past series we had against Australia, I think that was the first time I've ever played an international series and a batsman never scored 100 in 3 matches. So yeah.
Any other questions at the front?
Roston, when you sort of see a series of losses and you sort of try to come through it, when you look around in the dressing room, do you sense a lack of desire, or is it more of the fundamental issues which make it tougher to pull together performances?
Yeah, the guys are eager to play. I mean, the guys are young, so they want to make a name for themselves. They want to make a living for themselves. So I don't think that is a case where they come out there and are not trying, or they don't want to, do their best. But I just think that we have to improve our skill levels, and also if the skill level is there, we're not doing it for long enough periods. And in Test cricket, obviously, it's 5 days. You have to do it for 5 days. If you just do it for maybe 1 day, 2 days, you're still not going to be on top or even in the game. So I just think it's a case where we need to improve that skill level for longer periods.
Roston, the pitch seemingly has aches. So still, Jadeja was able to take wickets with very first session, about 10 wickets. So was it difficult to read or anything you could tell us?
No, I don't think it was difficult to read. He's an orthodox spinner. There's not much mystery to him. But as I said, we weren't tight enough in the defense, and he got some balls to spin a bit out of the rough. So that probably gave us a bit of poor judgment in terms of facing one ball and thinking about it when we need to put that ball behind us and focus on the next ball that's coming. So I just think that we need to, as I said before, just tighten our defense and play each ball at a time and not worry about too many things when we're batting, but just that one ball that's coming at us.
Yeah, we have a chance for one more question. Anybody? Karthik, follow.
Roston, having spoken about all the sort of deeper issues, how difficult is it for a captain to kind of set expectations from any given match, any test match, and then manage those expectations and not get tied up too much in the emotion of like losing or winning
Yeah, but as the captain, it's my job to motivate the team, despite whatever position we may be in or what happened in the last game. Is my job and the coach's job to motivate those players and give them the best chance, or give them that confidence that we still believe in them despite whatever may happen, because it's still a team. At the end of the day, I can't do it by myself. I can't depend on the coach. The coach doesn't play cricket, so it's still me and those guys going out there. So I would die trying to motivate those guys to give me a good performance.
Roston, during 70s, 80s and 90s, the great Caribbean fast bowlers who spearheaded the attack, they rarely missed any test or series due to injuries, going from Roberts, Holding, Garner, Marshall, Croft to Walsh and Andrews, even to Bishop era. Why is that the fast bowlers are missing a lot in the last 10 years due to injuries? What is going wrong with that?
I can't really speak on another man's body or anything like that, but For one thing, I could say there's a lot more cricket being played. There's not a lot of rest for a player, especially if he's playing all formats of the game. And then especially with the leagues around the world, guys are looking to earn their money. They're not really resting, getting the adequate rest that probably their body may need. But I mean, if they can try to stay as fit as possible and do a lot of gym work and not get too bulky, but be strong enough that they can handle the load, or it may be a case where they could pick and choose certain, formats of the game and be available. I think that would be obviously better for us, but it is what it is. A guy is going to try to earn his living, so I can't really fault a guy for trying to go out there and be available for whatever cricket it may be that he's given the opportunity to play.
All right. Final one. Yes.
So that from the PTA. What do you think of the match? I mean, was the Indian team much more stronger, or you think the West Indies could have done better, or was it the more weaker side? How do you see to that after, because it's a big loss?
Yeah, well, on the table, obviously they're ranked higher than us, so they're supposed to be a stronger team. But yes, I would say that I think we could have done better. I don't think that the wicket was a wicket that we should be bowled out twice under 200, 250. I think it's a pitch that we could have at least gotten 300 runs in the first innings. I thought it was a very good batting wicket, and the Indians showed us that.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for all the time. See you in Delhi for those working.
And then, what did you make of his comments?
I think he's sort of singing from a hymn book that many have sung from before.
Yeah.
I think that hopefully now these comments coming from within the team now that it's gotten to a point where even the captain of the team is saying, the facilities aren't up to scratch. Guys are not used to batting on good surfaces. Guys are not used to batting for long periods of time.
Yeah.
Hopefully that can help in terms of what is available for the future generations and even this current generation going forward in terms of improvement of standards and facilities.
Yeah.
But also the players have to take responsibility and onus for their performances as well. This is something that is not new to this generation. It's something that's not new to my generation. It's not something new for the past 30 years. This is something that's been ongoing in West Indies cricket. So there needs to be, whether it is, and I know they've said that they're going to start mentoring. I know we've been harping on about mentoring for 2 years now, and all of a sudden now there's talks about being mentorship with aligning current players with future players and past players and that kind of stuff. So that's stuff that is good, a transfer of knowledge, and as a society, obviously, because Jordan, let's take it a bit deeper. Me and you are Manchester United fans. We are going through it. And, obviously the first thing that generally we tend to do is blame the players, blame the administration, blame everything. But I think what needs to happen now is that it needs to be a collective get together, not just from the administrators, not just from players, but society on a whole. How do we get these players to be better?
Yeah.
I remember my last few years playing for the Leeward Islands, we weren't getting pitches that we wanted to practice on. So as a team, we collectively fixed our own pitches every afternoon after practice. Imagine that, a professional team fixing your own pitches, so that you can get practice up to a certain standard to be prepared for tournaments. So whatever the situation is, holistically, from a region, whether it is people in the diaspora, whether it is people back in the Caribbean, find a way to make your little contribution to help these players. If everyone helps with a little 1%, it will be interesting to see how far that really goes. And I think that that is what is needed at this point in time, because we know the performances are bad. We know the performances are at an all-time low.
Yeah.
Can it get lower? If we allow it to. If we keep disparaging and discouraging people, yes. So what we need to do is holistically, everyone play their part, whether it is making sure somebody gets to practice on time, making sure they're disciplined in training outside of scheduled team training, doing individual practice, making sure that they're getting access to the right personnel, whether it be not just a psychologist, nutritionist, a trainer, whatever the case is, the right specific individual coaching so that they can perform at an elevated level. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, definitely. And the point that you make there about you can only manage what you're in control of. There's certain things that are going on behind the scenes in scenario and situations, and I understand all that. And that's why Roston's comment, he's got to tread very carefully as well. And I do feel for him because he's got a responsibility as being West Indies captain, so he can't really turn around and say too much. But obviously his comments there, I thought he's delivered it in the right way, where we're all aware of what's going on behind the scene. We're all aware of the finances. It's not an excuse, but it's also something that is actually factual. We don't have the facilities there. But like I said, as a group of players and in the region in general, they've got to just do everything they can, what they're in control of. And like you were saying there, what you did is when you were part of the Leeward Islands to go and you've just got to find a way in that moment in time. And if that's sticking together as a team and as a group of players and just saying, look, let's just muck in here now from a pride perspective as well, because they're all individuals and they're all professional athletes. And at the end of the day, yeah, the facilities are what it is, and we know that. But my name is still on that team sheet, and I'm still part of a team that is being lost, the X amount of games that they have recently. So I've got a pride in myself now. I don't want to be associated with poor performances and something like that. I want to be part of a successful team and a successful unit.
I mean, I was fortunately enough a part of the last West Indian team that went to India and didn't lose a test match, I think that was a tied test or drawn test. I'm not sure how they phrased that one. But it was something. We made 500 and odd in the first innings. India made, I think, 4 something, and then they had to make 240 something in the second innings, and it was last ball they needed 2. Someone got run out of the last ball, so it was, I guess, tied or drawn or whatever the case is. But looking at, I guess, and I'm gonna go back to Man United again. Looking at Sammy's style of play, and he keeps talking about the brand of cricket he wants to play. It's very akin to our very own Ruben Amorim, who said not even the Pope could get him away from his back three. But I think that in doing so, in the style of cricket that Sammy wants to play, you also have to have the personnel. Yeah. I think that in the bowling department, they definitely probably do have that.
Yes.
At least from the 3 seamers standpoint, when those 3 guys are fit, 100% in my opinion, you have that.
Yeah.
But I think that because the batting is so inexperienced, you can't ask inexperienced batters to go and play aggressively. Test cricket is Test cricket for a reason. It's obviously the most difficult form of cricket. Look at someone like John Campbell. To me, he looks like he's caught in between. What am I trying to do? Am I trying to score quickly? Am I trying to bat long? And he's caught not doing either of batting long or scoring quickly. Obviously, Tejan Chandapal just back into the team. Alec Athanaze, good start. Something that he'll hope to build on in the second Test match. As I said, these guys needed to use this second innings as a stepping stone. But it was interesting for me listening to Ian Bishop on the ESPN Roundup, and stating that he was obviously disappointed more so in the Shea Hope and the Roston Chase being the experienced players coming back into this team. I'm just not sure if they've had enough time to prepare properly for Test cricket, even though that they've come back into Test cricket, because you look at the 2 Test series that they've been a part of now, it's been coming off of limited over series. So it's not been anything where they've had sort of an extended build-up and time to bat and practice batting for long periods of time going into a Test series. And it's pretty much going to be the same going into New Zealand as well. So that's when you start to have to look at preparation going into series. And something else that sort of, I guess, came to mind as well for me when I was coming back from the barber this evening. I think that in the second Test, I would make a change with Brandon King and John Campbell. I would swap their positions, because looking at John Campbell over the years, I know a few well, more than a few times now, he's gotten injured or whatever the case is, and he's come back and batted in the middle, and he's generally gone on to score and look more comfortable and more consistent than when he has to go against the new ball, especially someone the likes of Bumrah. And obviously Brandon King, who's been opening across
Yeah.
white ball formats. I think that there's nothing to lose in the second test match in making that swap, because I think that John Campbell is a very good player of spin as well. And with India having two left arm spinners as their main spin bowling options, I think John Campbell being a left-hander down in the middle order as well gives a bit of disruption, because the top three are three left-handers. So now you sort of break that up with Brandon King going up, and you have a left-right combination going a bit more throughout the innings. So that's something that I'd probably make a change as well, and see how that goes for the second test match.
Yeah, going back to the comments that you mentioned there for me and Bishop, obviously we spoke last night um, about the follow what tends to happen when you after a long batting innings you lose those, you bat and you lose those those wickets quite quickly. The disappointment I had was obviously with Shea in terms of Ian Bishop's comments. It was a tough ask for him to go and do that. So if you want Shea to flourish as a batter at Test cricket, and that's obviously what we spoke about earlier in the week, he has to relinquish the gloves. So the change I would make is work a way of bringing Tevin Imlach into the side to take the gloves, to then allow Shea to focus on batting in those middle overs where I think he will do well facing the spin as well.
I definitely understand your point. Regardless of whatever happens in terms of he keeps or not, he has to find a way to score runs, because he's the second most experienced batter in terms of test matches played.
Yeah.
And definitely the most experienced batter in terms of international stature. So he's someone that's obviously seen it all, done it all, and has to figure out a way to be more impactful for this team for sure.
Yeah. And that's when you were saying about his preparation aspect to it, is that because I don't feel he's getting that preparation leading into a series. And it's these two. And obviously, I appreciate this goes back, obviously, with England, you sort of tend, obviously, those 5-match series, and you can see that you can see player performance develop throughout the 5-match series. Whereas, obviously, with the West Indies, they tend to play these 2 series. So you're going into that second, and then all of a sudden it's your white ball stuff, and then you come back again, and it's hard. And you'll watch him when you watch Shea bat in white ball cricket, he gets into any side, especially from a 50-over perspective. He gets into any nations, into any side. But we somehow got to try and get that confidence back within it from a red ball perspective and from a Test cricket perspective, where he has that sort of aura when he comes to the crease. But like you said, I suppose that's it's that balance between the preparation and the like. Really, do you see that do you see any personnel changes? You're talking there, obviously, from a.
I mean, we did select Tevin Imlach in our team
to
start
completely with
that series, because we pretty much understood that it was going to be a tough task. India was going to bat for a long period of time.
Yeah,
there were going to be tired bodies. So I think if you look at Shea's keeping as well, you could see that he started to fade a bit, started to make some mistakes, started to miss some balls that he should be taking, which normally isn't the case. But as I said, you're standing in that heat for that amount of time. Those things will happen. I think that along with the batters, the batting coach also has to be questioned at this point. He has to come under the gun for some scrutiny. I think that Floyd Reefer has been sort of, I guess, getting away without much scrutiny. But I think that his position is definitely going to become untenable if these performances continue happening.
No, I think that's it, and that's what we mentioned a bit ago. People need to start to take some ownership of what's going on. That's from a player perspective. It's also from a coaching perspective, because something isn't clicking from whatever way. And you look at the impact that Ravi Rampal's had, and it as positive as it's been, there are big noticeable differences between them. I think, like I said, going into the second test, they've got to somehow find a way of batting time and scoring runs. And that's a couple of if that's a tweak in the batting order that you mentioned there, because you're speaking from experience and knowledge of the game. If you that's I'd hope they'd take something like that on board and maybe tweak that a little bit to see where they can find some avenues into changing this rut that they're in as well. So
100%. But holistically, no, the batters just have to find a way. Like, it's tough. I guess Alec Athens has shown that he can get in.
Yeah.
He's shown that in the past. He needs to show that he can go on and get bigger scores now. I think that this test batting unit is going to sort of, I guess, start to be questioned after this series and definitely after the New Zealand series.
I was going to say that's the real, yeah.
So that's sort of going to be the end of the rope for a lot of guys in terms of giving them a chance to show something.
Yeah.
And you look at next year. Now, no international match or series is easy, but you'd like to think that you'd want to be around for the series that the West Indies have lined up next year, as opposed to this year being such a tough year. So, for the batters to go on and get some scores and show that, they have the ability to get a 70, get an 80, get 100, and sort of use next year as a building block. Because I think that I personally think, the likes of a Craig Brathwaite, a Joshua De Silva, who am I missing? Amir Jangu and a Kavim Hodge will sort of be in and around the fold come New Zealand and definitely next year for those series coming up if guys I guess don't start scoring. So it's sort of about not only just self-respect, but it's keeping your job.
Well, exactly. As we spoke about before, this is your livelihood, and obviously that's what Roston sort of mentioned as well in his comments about people's, it's the jobs. So well, it's we're all on to the second test, and we'll see how that goes. But keep liking, like I said, keep subscribing. Do ask any questions. Let us know what you think. What do you see changes personnel-wise going into that second test? What do you make of Roston's comments? What do you make about Ian Bishop's comments that he made? So let us know. Karen will get back to you, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you very much.